Hey y'all, it's Angel, your best friend who happens to be a therapist. I still can't believe they talked me into doing a podcast, but here I am and here we go. I'm not gonna lie to you, we gonna talk about everything. Nothing's off limits, the good, bad, and the ugly. So put your seatbelt on and enjoy the ride. Hi friends, I am back and today I'm going to be talking to you about self-discovery journey. But I have asked one of my sisters, I told you I have a bunch of them, to join me because her and I both had significant long periods of times of being by ourselves, which we didn't know then, but it was a self-discovery journey. So welcome.
Hi everybody, I'm Dina. And I'm excited to be here and chop it up.
All right. Well, let's get started. So, the reason I want to talk about this because I don't feel like people need to know that it's not fair to make someone else responsible for your happiness.
Agreed.
And our self-discovery journey teaches us how to love us and be happy with us, to not depend on someone else for that. Would you agree?
I 100% agree.
What was your
Go
ahead.
It teaches you how to like yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can't expect my spouse to like me and I don't like me. I think I'm a fun damn time. Right? So if I think I'm a fun time, then, hey, all it matters. I think, for me, the self-discovery was really important because I just wanted to know that I could stand on my own 2 feet. I wanted to know that I could do it, right? Like, if life knocked me down, I knew how to get back up, right? But more importantly, if I knew how to stand on my own 2 feet, then I know how to stand next to my husband.
So
that's
a word.
That was important for me, right? Because, I think growing up, you always heard or saw, like, or I think we were kind of always taught, like, you want to marry a man that can take care of the house, that can do this, that can afford that. And that's great and all, but that comes with its own challenges and its own stuff.
That's
right?
A whole nother podcast, girl. That's a whole nother. I would love to get into that one day.
So it was really important for me to, like, what do I like to do? Like, do I like to spend some quiet time at home? Do I like alone time? I do. Right? I love my alone time. I love my private time. But I think because I had that opportunity to really have that self-realization, I also value my family time.
Well, during this self-discovery time, there were some lonely times. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That we had to get used to, and that we had to learn what to fill that time up with. That didn't make us feel so lonely. That was kind of the part where we learned how to love ourselves, how to like ourselves, what made us happy that had nothing to do with anyone else. Like I love, like you said, I love alone time. I need it. Now I need it. And even more so, having a husband and children and career and all this other stuff. Now I'm like searching for it, trying to carve it out because I know it's important. Do you think we would know that if we didn't have that self-discovery time?
I think we would have eventually got to that point, but I think it would have been a harder lesson. I think I know some people who have never been on their own, right? And this is not derogatory or disrespectful to their journey.
Some of our sisters, that's why you were
here. Have never been on their own, and I think it's scary if you've never done it. I think when we were in our 20s and we did it, there's a fierceness, and I'm not saying you don't have a fierceness in your 40s, but there's a fierceness in your 20s where you want to take the world on, right?
Well,
come on.
You know what? Because you're not worried about like that biological clock.
Correct.
You're not worried about, I'm not
right.
where I'm at in my career.
Nothing to lose almost.
Yeah.
Right? Like you kind of got that ignorance is bliss, right? So you got the benefit of being young and dumb and not really knowing what life really can about, right? And so you ain't scared. You more like, I want to do this. I can do this. I think later on in life, to your point, you start feeling like I got more to lose, or it's.
I don't have that much time left. I want to have kids,
right?
And my, my egg quality is declining after the age of 30. Did y'all know that at the age of 30, your OBGYN is going to be talking to you about what's happening with the kids because your quality of eggs, decrease every year starting from the age of 30. So
I had my son at 35 and I was considered a geriatric. What do they call it? Like, basically it's like, a geriatric pregnancy. Like, you're older, so they have to look at all risks now associated with the fact that you're 35.
Well, right? The baby sister was born. My mother was 40. How old was she? She was 41 or I think it was 41 or 42 when she had the Arion. So, I call her E40. Because that 40-year-old egg, boy, is different. That shit is different from a 30-year-old egg.
It is. And our little sister actually had the same birthday as my husband.
Oh, isn't that
crazy?
Yeah, the whole birthday thing is kind of insane. But nevertheless, so self-discovery. So what I learned most in my self-discovery journey is it is almost required to have a healthy and happy relationship in the future.
100%. You need to find that balance. Otherwise, you start developing that codependency.
Yeah, which is very unhealthy and very toxic. And that's when you start depending on your partner to make you happy when that's an unfair ask.
Or your kids. Right?
Or your
you start depending on your kids. And our kids have their own lives. And they will eventually, if we do the right work, grow up and become adults and want to move on and start their own lives. And so you've gotta be able to find comfort in who you are, who God made you to be, and like that. And like who you are.
We also learned a lot, right? We learned how to keep a home, right?
Girl, I was taking trash out. I was fixing knobs on handles. Ask me to do any of that shit right now. It ain't happening. But I had to do that then. You put furniture up together. I got to change the blinds. I got to, you're doing stuff that you're like, oh, my Lord. Now, I'm spoiled, right? Because I'm like, take the trash out. But if I had to do it again, I know what to do. I know what it takes.
So my husband says it all the time. He's like, you can't do this. You act like you ain't lived by yourself. You act like you ain't do this before. Well, that was a long fucking time ago. And I am not trying to remember that life again. But I do have the skill from that experience, right? I have the wisdom. I know what it takes. I know he can't say, well, you don't understand, because I do fucking understand, because I've done it before. Right? Like we were talking earlier about shoveling the snow. It's snowing right now. Like I had to shovel when I lived in St. Louis. That was my time alone. That was the time that that was my self-discovery journey, and I had to shovel that fucking snow from the street all the way to the garage, and the garage was not attached to my house, which sucked in ways, but I had to do that, and I was sweating. I did not know that you could sweat that much when it's that cold outside. I had no idea that was how I learned that lesson.
Yeah. I also had to find other stuff to do, right? Like, I think at that point I had my full-time job, but I picked up a part-time job.
Because you had the time.
Right? Like, I didn't have to. Now, the extra money didn't hurt, but I knew that if I didn't find other positive ways to fill my time, I could get caught up and, could have those lonely nights. You do have them days where you like, dang, I want some company, some companionship. And sometimes you set yourself up and you were in the wrong situation. Had somebody in your rotation that was not supposed to be on your list of, and next thing you know, how'd you get here?
Right, how'd you get here? Why are you here? Who told you to come over here? I oh, damn, I ain't mean to. My bad.
Exactly.
Or you're on stage, you're welcome. I'm ready for you to go now. Because that was another thing. Like, I learned how clean I was, how much of a neat freak I was. Because, there was no one there to mess up your house. When you cleaned it up, it was just on you. And if you didn't clean up, it was on you. And like... Yeah. I didn't like people at my house too long because they was fucking my shit up. And I was like, it's time for you to go.
Right. And now look at that. Now your house is the house, right? Like everybody.
But I still be cleaning when they leave. Like, I will not go to bed.
You clean when we're there. So, But you know what else? I will say, I was just thinking about it when you said that. Like, in addition to working, I started being more active in church. Girl, do you remember I was on the security ministry? What was I going to do? But I started being more active. I did too. Which I'm happy that I was like more active during that time.
I was going to church every Sunday because I had shit else to do. Like everything I needed to do was already done. And I did. I went to church every Sunday then. Mm-hmm. Back then. I did. Yeah. I did.
Which I think was really important, especially like for where we are right now in our journeys and in our walks and things like that. Like, I think those fundamentals and that foundation was important.
Yeah, it was. We also got other things done. We finished graduate school.
Finished grad school, yeah.
I started and really was solidifying my career then. Like all of that.
Purchased my home. I did some things that, Yeah. So really was able to focus, like you said, on your career.
Yeah.
Right?
And yourself as a woman. Right? Yourself as a woman. That's when, when you started doing like waxing and you're like, oh yeah, I need to keep this up. That kind of thing. Like that's when all of that stuff kind of started developing. Your nails, like when you.
Oh yeah, girl. Yes.
All of that stuff. Getting your hair done. Yeah. Yep. All of that was part of that self-discovery journey because you were trying to fill your time up with positive, productive things, right?
So the things that I want to do and I want to continue to do, and whoever I ended up with had to understand that, right? Like you knew coming in the door, I'm getting my nails done every 2 weeks. I'm getting my hair done every 2 weeks, except for in the summer, right? Like you knew, like this is kind of like where I'm at, like. When I met my husband, who is now my husband, that was, I think in the beginning, it was so odd. I used to get my nails done Friday night. And me and my nail stylist, we would have wine.
They would be drunk.
At the beginning, I think it took something. He was like, what? Because that was so foreign for him, right? But then eventually, he was like, oh, this is their norm. Like, oh, this is really what they do, right? Like, so I think in the beginning, but that was what it was. That this is what I do, and this is what I enjoy, and yeah. And this is my time. So then it became that was part of my me time. That was part of my time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because before we had all the me time.
But you know what? But I will say, like, knowing that about myself, and him coming into that dynamic, knowing that this is what she needs. I still have my time. Now it ain't 7:00 on a Friday night anymore because I got a 4-year-old now, right? But every other Saturday morning, he knows. Oh, okay, she's gonna get her nails done. This is her time, and I'm thankful to God because during that journey, it allowed me to find someone who
respected that,
celebrates that, correct, and celebrates it and says, oh, okay, and doesn't try to change it or stop it.
That was something that you learned. That was a requirement for you later on in life. And that's why it is it should be a requirement to be by yourself for a while. How long were you by yourself? How many years was it?
Oh God, I probably was by myself. I'm gonna say it was about 3 or 4 years. And it was after I had broke up with this guy, girl, that y'all couldn't tell me, okay?
And I'm not gonna be her husband, Lord.
Girl, hindsight being what it is. But in that time,
I didn't think, for the record, y'all, I was never sold. She never sold me on him being her husband. I never got sold on him.
But I'm so thankful for that time because when I met my husband, I was able to see like
you were ready,
the characteristics that were important. Yeah. Right. Like that based on who I had grown to be and who I had become during my alone period were really important to me.
It was the preparation.
It was. It really was.
Yeah. Yep. I think mine was about 2 years. I think mine was about 2 years. Mine was about 2 years where I, had the rotation, and not rotation don't mean that you having sex with, that you having sex with them. They just all kind of served a different purpose. Some were just good to hang out and go out to dinner with. Some were good that knew like other events and fun things to do. That introduced me to fun things, or shopping or traveling. It was just, a different one for different things.
Yep.
That you learned a little something from. Yeah, that you learned a little something from. I learned a lot from everybody. I mean, I tried to.
Yeah. I think that's what's important too, like in this journey, like really taking the time, sitting back and taking the lessons.
Yeah, for sure. Learning the lessons.
And I think for us, a lot of our social circle were like, we were doing different things, right? Like we had a lot of our friends and stuff who, it's funny, they had their children young, so now they're kind of approaching almost like that empty nester phase, and we
still in the thick of it. We still in the thick of it.
Right. So,
we ain't nobody empty nesters.
Like, now we're at the point where we got to find babysitters, and wait a minute, they sick, so we can't go, and then now they're at the other end of it where they're like, we out.
Right. We don't need a babysitter. So, right. They don't need a babysitter. We do.
Right. Their kids can babysit our kids.
Oh, shit. They can.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep. So.
Dang. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, the importance of a self-discovery journey, right? To love yourself. Learn who you are and learn to like and love yourself.
Very important. It's very important. How can anyone else like you and want to be around you when you don't even like your own company?
Or even know yourself. Know yourself well enough to say, I'm not going to tolerate that, and I will tolerate that. That's also another thing you learn during that self-discovery time.
But I think it's also important during the self-discovery time not to harden yourself either. I think that was one of the things. I was so worried about not getting hurt and hurting people. Do you remember this? I'm gonna hurt you before you hurt me. And I remember you pulled me to the side and was like, if you ever eventually want to find someone, you can't be like that. So you probably don't even remember that.
I don't remember.
But I was kind of hardened, right? Because it's self-preservation, self-protection.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be so vulnerable. But during that time, it's important not to harden yourself.
Yeah. And and learn to when it's time to be vulnerable, who you can be vulnerable with.
That's important.
Looking for those green flags to say this might be a safe place to do that. That was another thing. We learned a lot of red flags, learned a lot of green flags, learned a lot of yellow flags. Some orange ones.
and knowing the value in your circle, right? It's important to have people in your circle who are going to support your time, who are going to honor it, who are going to respect it. And it's okay to have a small circle during that time.
I prefer
because sometimes you have to shed and prune and do the things you need to do to become better.
Yeah. And when you're feeling lonely during this self-discovery time, push through it. Mm-hmm. Push through it. Because it's
don't push
temporary.
Your phone buttons and being like, hello? John, what you doing? Yeah, no. Nope.
Don't push
that way.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't push through like that.
Caught up every time.
Right.
Because I'm not going to say during that time I didn't have those, especially in the beginning.
We weren't celibate. Let's be clear. We weren't celibate during that time. Self-discovery doesn't mean celibacy. Now, for some it does. For some it does. And there were times where it wasn't planned, but there were some times where I didn't have anybody in my life that I was that intimate with.
Right. That was worth putting that notch on my belt. I'm trying to keep my numbers low.
Praise the Lord.
That was love. I didn't want them crazy numbers.
I'm happy I'm happy, he died for our sins and forgave us.
Okay. Jesus, thank you, Lord.
During that time, there are some things that you're going to want to be forgiven for. For sure.
Oh, yeah. 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 I definitely made a lot of mistakes along the way. Some mistakes that to this day, while I do believe that I've been forgiven, I still ask for forgiveness just to be sure, because I made some mistakes. It's not your journey is not about perfection.
Mm-mm.
It's really about finding who you are. Like,
what are some things that you wish you would have done during that self-discovery time that you didn't get to do? I wish I would have traveled more. Like, I've never done a girls' trip. Remember we were just talking about that? I've never done a girls' trip, ever.
So and I've done a girls' trip. It depends on the group of girls. It can be overrated if it's not the right group of girls.
I mean, I've gone with like 1 or 2 girls, but not, when I think of a girls' trip, I think of like 5 or more.
Yeah, it can be overrated if you don't have the right combinations there.
She's like, hell no. She's like, nope, I don't regret that. Keep it moving. What else?
The right group of girls, right? And so, but I do agree, traveling more and doing more like self-dating, right? Like I even now kind of look at people when you're out and you see people out by themselves, like,
oh, I did that.
I didn't do enough of that. And so looking back, I wish I would have done a little bit more of that. Not that I can't take myself out on a date now, right? But looking back, I wish I would have done more of that.
Yeah, I did do that. Well, I was kind of forced to do that because I was out of town. All of my friends and family were here.
True.
And, the DMV area, and I was in St. Louis. So I had to do a lot by myself. I went to the movies. I went out to eat. I went shopping. Yeah. And now it ain't nothing for me to be like, I'm out, y'all. I'll see y'all later. And I'll go by the fuck by myself. And I love it.
I've never done that before. I've never gone to the movies by myself.
Oh, girl, it's great.
Never. Wow.
It's great. It's awesome.
I've never done that.
It's awesome.
Interesting.
And one of the things I learned doing, like, going out to eat by myself, if you went to the bar, you never ate by yourself. Because there was always somebody that came up next to you that you end up chit-chatting with. Not saying that we exchanged numbers and went out on a date later. It was just, you just never ended up by yourself. The only way to do that is to go sit at a table. Like, you have to say table for one, please. That would be the only way that you're actually there by yourself.
Right.
Sitting at the bar, that shit don't work.
And the way I talk, I'm a talk.
Yeah, she talks
to
any and everybody.
I do. And it's so funny because, interestingly enough, during those like alone moments, I didn't want to talk to people like that. When I'm home, I've heard that term, like, you're introverted, extrovert. When I'm home, I don't really want to be doing a whole bunch of talking. So I'm not on the phone all the time, or, I'm really not. But when I'm out or I'm with, like, in social settings, oh yeah, I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk. But I learned that, now that we're talking about it, that's probably something that I did gain from that when I'm in the house, kind of like
being by yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right? And so, like, when I'm home now, I have my son and my husband, and so my son is right. But I do have those moments where I've noticed, like, I'm not really doing a whole bunch of talking. We're spending time together. We're enjoying each other's company, but I ain't really doing a whole bunch of talking, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. So what else do you regret that you didn't get to do during your self-discovery time that you wish you did more of?
Well, apparently I didn't go to the movie, so I kind of regret that. I don't really have too many regrets during that stage, if I'm being honest. I think it was a valuable stage. I needed it. I'm happy that I had it. Because, like I said, I know people who've never had that, and they're now in a position where they're being forced for whatever reason, life be lifing, and they're in and it's scary for them, right? Yeah. And I completely understand why it's scary, but I'm so happy I was able to do that early on in my journey, because it's kind of prepared me, like, if I do need to.
I regret not journaling. I would have loved to have documented that and read that now. You know, see the person that I was then and that growth, and then being able to read it now and say, oh, look at how far I've come. Look at how I used to think. Look at how I think now. You know?
Yeah.
I regret not doing that for sure. I wish I would have journaled back then. I learned how to cook.
You journal now?
I do journal now. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, I journal now. I love it. I love it. Even that's why I'm saying that, because even though, like, when I read the beginning of my journal and read it now, it's like, damn. Like, and you know, and I'm start get into it. Start journaling. You only have to do it a few minutes before bed, like right before bed. Do like 10 minutes.
So do you journal like, okay, this is what my day was like today, or just how you're feeling?
There's no rules. There's no rules of journaling.
Okay.
There's no rules. It can be as long as you want, as short as you want. Talk about whatever you want, whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind.
Now, what I did start doing, and I'm not consistent, so see, work in progress, we're still working on ourselves, is when I do like, I guess my Bible study, I will journal with that, like, you know, scripture and, you know, like what my observation is and application, all that other stuff. But I've never done that, like when it comes to just everyday, day-to-day type stuff. So maybe I might try that.
You know, mine is never just like, today I did this and I did that.
I think about Moesha, right?
No.
I'm like, man, I've never done that. You remember that?
No,
okay, I'm showing my age, y'all. Like,
right, Moesha.
With the music in the background, like.
Right, yes. No. I, no. You know what? Most of my journal is really me talking to God, honestly.
Oh.
Most of it is that, or recapping something that I remembered a long time ago and why that's relevant now. But there's no rules to it. You can write whatever you want. It's going to end up being profound to you.
Right.
No matter what. So what is your advice for those in their discovery journey? What would you advise them to do, not to do?
I would say if you don't have a relationship with God, I think this is the time for you to grow and develop in that area. I think it was important for me because we come from Him, right? So you want to get to know who you are, you need to get to know Him too.
And it's less distractions. It's less distractions.
It is less distractions. And not to sound, you know, oh, they holy roll. No, not at all, because I be cussing and fussing, okay?
Well,
like,
I feel like the audience already know I'm a cursing. Right. I'm holding back on here, y'all.
Like, you know, like I got into being involved in more. I might have said this. I got involved into being in like ministry and stuff, like me on the security board. Like, what the heck am I securing? But I wanted to kind of like be more involved, and you know, I was doing Bible study, and you know, I probably should get back into that. But I would say that's one of the things that I would encourage you to do, because to your point, there are a lot of distractions. And if you're trying, the devil hear you. If you trying to take time to really get to know you, you need to be covered, right? And so that's the way to do it. So I would do that. I think that's also a way for you to learn and start liking yourself.
Yeah.
And
fight through that loneliness.
Fight through it. And don't find other means of trying to soothe the loneliness, right? Like,
with
don't start
people.
Drinking more. Right. Other people, you know, now you're doing other things because you're trying to take some of that loneliness away, right? Don't develop a new habit because now you're bored, right? Unless the habit is getting closer to God. That would be my advice. So I'm not going to lie to you. The self-discovery journey can be scary, right? But it's necessary for you to know who you are so that you're prepared to be who you need to be for those that love you and for those that you love.
Oh, I like that. That was good. The only thing I want to add is fight through that loneliness, because you are going to get lonely. That's part of the self-discovery journey. Fill those lonely times with things that are productive, positive and productive, that are going to enhance you as an individual. And don't give up, because once you know who you are, it's going to be hard for anybody to break you, and it's going to be hard. Life is going to get easier.
Yeah. No one can take it away from you.
No one can take that away from you. That's how you build your self-esteem, your self-confidence, all that good stuff that's going to help you as anything you want to be in the future, whether it's a wife, a husband, a mother, a father, a career person, whatever it is, it's going to help you get there. So, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Hopefully, I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks for listening to I'm Not Gonna Lie to You podcast. Subscribe for more insightful and down-to-earth content. And don't forget to follow us on social media at An Angel's Touch 8 on Instagram and An Angel's Touch Therapy on Facebook.